dialed in to Bucks and Brews, you might hear something you can use. Like tips on your cash or tips on the suds.
You're gonna want to use
the smarts of these studs.
Cause they know the brews.
And they know the Bucks. And they know they can't help the stubborn fucks.
So listen up, cause shit's not funny.
And save yourself some beer money.
Bucks
and Brews.
Bucks and
Bucks
and
Brews.
Brews.
Bucks and Brews.
Welcome back to Bucks and Brews. Nick, you've been waiting a long time. Go ahead.
My favorite song in the whole world.
You're drinking today.
I am.
What are you drinking?
It's for the listeners,
It
not
is.
for me.
Absolutely.
I am sponsored again by the pretty one on the podcast, Mr. Mike Benson,
who's not on the podcast today.
Yeah, so he's our eye candy. Anderson Valley Brewing Company, Farm Boys Rose. Doesn't have the little thing on top of it, so I don't think it's a rosé.
Okay.
It's a goes again. And say I'm really, really excited to try it out. So what do you got?
I went back to the French Toast Bastard from Founders because I thought this was delicious last week, and I figured, fuck it, I'm gonna have a beer this week.
Say,
even though I'm not drinking until the cruise, this doesn't count because this is technically work that we get paid so much for.
We do, guys. We're rolling in the dough from all of this. I think we've, the pennies that you guys send us is great. We love it.
I mean, we made a bottle of cider and a 6-pack of beer and a growler.
But we've made tons of friends.
We have.
So speaking of friends, we're hoping to make a new one tonight. We were just talking off air, we're really excited to have a guest.
Yeah.
So
a little bit.
Because we have guests, what do we want you to do is we want you to like, subscribe, share, tell your friends, tell your family, because we love having your guys' input and feedback.
We do.
So speaking of guests, Rebecca, thank you so much for joining us. Are you drinking anything tonight?
So I am, but I'm super boring because it's water and it's filtered water.
Oh,
Fancy.
I love Dasani. Okay, let me be clear on this. I'm a filtered
I hate
water.
Dasani.
I'm done with you. This was a great podcast. Thanks so much for joining us.
Cool.
We are no longer friends. Gosh, I am. I'm gonna. You're an Aquafina person. Oh,
no, I hate Aquafina too.
Really?
No, I buy. Yeah, I don't like either one of those. Those are the probably two top ones that I hate. We just have I drink so much water. I probably drink. So can you see this water bottle?
Yeah.
I drink 3 of those a day.
There you go.
So we have a water pitcher at home that has a filter in it. So that's what I mean by filtered water. I would not want to carry all of the water bottles. I would need to drink that much water if it was bottled water.
Oh, I just keep a case in the car and just grab it and the empty bottles in there. And then my wife gets in my car and gets pissed. Why do you have so many water bottles? And I'm like, because I drink water. Oh, I guess that's okay. We have reuse. Problem is my wife has 1,000 of those cups. Literally 1,000. I'm not being facetious when I tell these people. And now we have a big one that's fucking gallon, and it says on one side it's all motivational sayings, right? And it's you're doing great, oh hey, keep up the good work, all this and that. And the other side it's 8 a.m 9 a.m 10 a.m blah blah blah. And I was you need a thing to tell you that you have to drink this amount of I don't know, I just chug water, right?
We have stickers of break room therapy now. I have a motivational sticker.
Oh my gosh, you guys have the best stickers right now.
Well, we got some new ones in. My new favorite one is I hate people because fuck you. I think your wife needs that on her water.
So tonight we're talking emotions with money.
Yeah, right? Basically.
We actually kind of dealt with this a little bit on a different episode because it was a Reddit question, right?
Yeah,
hey, yeah. I make so much money. Why do I feel bad spending $12 on something? Yeah. It was and he's is it normal? David and I are both yeah.
We're very emotional about spending money.
Oh God, I was driving here and it was funny because I actually asked myself, I was man, why do I just feel so fucking broke right now?
Same.
But so tell us a little bit about your background, where you're from, and I guess why you're the expert on this topic.
Right. So I am Rebecca Thomas, more than a life coach. I'm actually in the greater Grand Rapids area, but I work with people nationwide. I'm the oldest of seven, and I have five younger sisters, and they're all in their 30s right now, which is very humorous because my clients are generally from 30 to 50 something. Women who have scaled professionally, climbed the corporate ladder. They are on the other side of that, really taking an audit of their lives. And one of the things they're finding that's missing is them. So I actually help them get out of their heads, get out of their houses, get out of their businesses, and get back into their lives. So that's what I do. I actually got into that by being an Airbnb host. So I'm still an Airbnb host, but once upon a time, we actually had people stay in our home with us. And so it was through that experience and connecting with complete strangers in our home that I realized this was the thing, and I was really good at it. Heard the term life coach, and the rest is kind of history. Why I'm the expert on this? Definitely a season that I am navigating myself right now, as far as like how I feel about money, what the disconnect there is, like what's going on. And I finally have my answer. So now we're on the other side of that doing the work. But the other thing is I am always going to help my clients feel their feelings, because we get hung up on things because we're judging our feelings or trying to fight our feelings or deny our feelings. And then we get on the other side of that. And because we've done that, instead of actually like feeling the feelings and dealing with them, we just stay stuck where we are.
We've done a lot of mental health episodes because that's kind of our thing.
Yeah, we love it.
And it usually goes something like this.
Fucking hate my life.
I hate myself today, and these are the 18 reasons why. And a lot of it always comes back with us to money.
Yeah.
Because we never feel successful enough.
Never.
And we always feel broke, whether we're broke or not.
Oh, yeah.
Like if I got 5,000 in the bank, I feel the same if I have $1 in the bank. It's the same feeling.
No,
it doesn't matter.
Yeah, it's like the amount of stress I put on myself, whether I have the most money I've ever had in my life or just can't afford a fucking tire. That's how I feel. I'm buying a house this week, hopefully. Jesus.
I mean, you buy a house every other week. Yeah.
But I get my documents today, and I'm dealing with. I found out she's new at what she's doing, and on there.
Who is she?
My title company, my title company
gotcha.
person, right? Because they sent me my final paperwork or whatever, and I'm reading through it, and I'm buying it for a certain price, and then there's all these fees, and it has a grand total. I'm trying to explain to her, so I'm paying what's called a wholesale fee, right?
Yep.
A finder's fee, and I'm looking at it, and I was like, I'm like, hey, the price I'm paying includes her fee. This shouldn't be on here twice. And she's like, well, no, it's not on there twice. It's on there once, and she has it, and you have a purchase price, and she wants this much extra. And I was like, no, like the original price is what she has it for. I'm buying it for this. She doesn't actually own the damn thing. Like, and she's like, I know that. And I'm like, okay, so if we're saying the same thing, then I'm not paying an extra $60,000 for this house. Like, and we're going back and forth for like
too long,
right? 10 minutes, whatever it was. It just felt like forever. And so finally she's like, hey, I'm going to get Katie, which Katie's great. She owns Essential Title. She goes, I'm going to get Katie on the phone. Hold on for a second. And I was like, great. I love Katie, right? Hey, Nick, how's it going? Great. All right, what do we got? And I was like, boom, boom, boom. Like, and the problem is how they sent me the document. Mine is all in like hieroglyphics. Like I can't even read each line item.
Yeah.
I can read their basics that they filled in. And I was like, look, there's this price that's right here that shouldn't be here. And I'm paying this. And she goes, oh, yep, you're absolutely correct. It shouldn't be like that. It shouldn't be, she goes, oh, she's, I don't even remember the girl's name. Annie's new or whatever. She hasn't done one of these yet. And I was like, that's fine. Just fix it. Right. Like, but I spent 8 minutes discussing how I'm right and she's wrong. And like, I've bought 15 of these this year. Right? Like,
we don't mind being wrong.
Right.
But when we're right, stop fucking arguing. Would you please? Would you just please stop arguing?
Yes. And let's just get the damn thing fixed. And so she's like, Nick, nope, you're right. Like, it'll, like, new numbers will be to you in minutes. And I was like, okay. I was like, I will see you Thursday. And 5 minutes later, right, I get an email, new updated thing. My numbers went down a significant amount. And I was like, okay, all right, we got this figured out. Like, I never mind teaching a new person. But Jesus, like, you've done, if this is your first one, and the problem is during that, she's like, I'm getting charged a $600 fee from my lending company for foreclosure insurance or whatever the heck it might. And they're like, look, it's not that we think you're going to. And I was like, I know what it is. I understand what the fee's for. Like, it's a mortgage insurance. Like, and it was like, again, this is my 15th transaction in weeks with you people. Like, I've done a million of these. And so like, if you tell me that you kind of know who I am because you've talked to people and then I'm trying to teach you and you know that you're new, you should probably listen to me and understand, like, because there was so much like, I feel like I'm saying it. And so I tried saying it a different way. And like, I almost got my wife on the phone because she says things so different than I do. Right. Like,
Nicer.
but I was very nice. Right. Like,
I mean, you're nice for you.
Yeah. Hey, that's kind of it. Right.
You're nice for you. Like, I'm nice for me.
Right. Like, I didn't come out
And then there's real nice.
like, I don't mean, like, not negative. Right. But like, I was very nice about it.
Hello,
right?
my name is Nick and you're a dumbass.
Right, like kind of it. And so I'm like, oh my gosh, you have to get this figured out. So
Can we talk about that for a second?
Yeah, absolutely.
So the funny thing is, like, everything you're describing, including quote unquote Annie, because we don't know her name, makes me think about a time about a year ago. So my boyfriend and I have been together for over 6 years now, and I've always been like super independent, shocker, like strong woman. I do all the things myself because I've always had to. So it was funny because a couple of years ago we had this conversation around, like, he wanted me to ask for help more. Like, he can see that I need help, but he didn't understand that, like, I could not see that I needed to ask for help. So I think that's one thing where there's a real disconnect sometimes. And then fast forward another year to the conversation we had last year, where I literally, during a conversation with him, we were having this conversation and I could feel myself like, and we don't have these super dramatic arguments, or like, we never argue, and it's not because we don't feel differently about things. It's just we both feel kind of empowered to say what we need to say and trust each other that we'll figure it out together. But it was funny because he was telling me this thing or having this conversation with me, and I could literally feel myself like shutting down, getting red in the face, and like, I'm imagining Annie doing all those things right now, because it's less about like how you were doing it and something that she was like telling herself inside of her head and feeling like overly responsible for. And that wasn't the case at all. But she was so in her own shit at that moment that she couldn't literally see outside of that, and was basically either shutting down or just trying to do everything she could fix it without paying attention to the details of the conversation.
Not as saying it could be, but you know,
That's a great point though, because in a lot of instances, you have these conversations with other people, but a different conversation's going on in your mind.
Yeah.
And that's what you trigger into, is that conversation going on in your mind. And now you've told yourself a story that may or may not be true. And now you're pissed off about it.
Right.
I mean, you and I are basically the same person in a lot of ways, and our wives are basically the same person in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
How many times have you woken up and she had a bad dream and it was your fucking fault?
100%.
Because you did something in the dream to piss her off.
Every time it's my fault.
And you sit there and you're like, but I didn't do it. But she's told herself this story in her mind.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden now you're an asshole because you did this to her in her dream.
Yeah.
Even though you did nothing but sleep.
That's the problem. I slept.
Right, exactly.
I
mean, I get those things too.
Yeah. Oh, I'm exhausted. My wife was just up all night, like last night, and finally she took some medicine or whatever. And then within minutes, she was just passed out after she had tossed and turned and moved the blankets a million times. And so finally, like, then she's just right next to me, just annoying the crap out of me, snoring and stuff. And I was like, I had to deal with this, right? Yeah. Like, and so I woke up this morning. I was like, okay, great. Like, I've gotten 2 hours of sleep in my life. Thanks for that. No. So yeah, and that's, you know, I have no problem with people, how they do things, stuff like that. But like, when it sounds like somebody knows what they're talking about, I usually take a quick step back and just go, all right, let me see if we can word this different or get this figured out. Because in her head, I mean, she was literally charging me double, right? Like, and I'm like, no, like, no. Like, I like people. I don't like people that much. Let me tell you that.
Right.
And when we look at money, so like, you know, I'm doing the pallet thing.
Yeah.
And I talked to my buddy Osborne, who you know through umpiring, and he goes, I don't understand how you do it. I would just be so pissed off at these people. Right, I'm pissed off at all of these people.
Yeah.
But here's the deal. I have 2 jobs that don't pay me. And I need more money. So I can either get another job,
Yeah.
and now I have 4, or I can find another way to make some money. So I found another way to make some money. Is it a pain in the ass? It's a huge pain in the ass. Do I have to deal with idiots all the fucking time?
Mhm.
But what will make me happy?
Money.
Yeah. Money makes me happy. Dawn said it yesterday. It's my love language.
Yeah.
Because if I have money, I can pay for shit and then I don't have to do the things I don't want to do. So I had to go cut weeds in the woods. Did I tell you this shit? So I went down there for the last time on Sunday morning to cut weeds in the woods because that is a huge deal to my mother. Ring, ring. I talked to Mike.
What was that?
Both of
our
our
moms
will just call us, which is, and
about nothing.
Yeah,
literally about nothing.
Did you hear that Miss Susie had a baby and the name was Tiny Tim? Mom, I don't know Miss Susie, and I don't care about her kid.
Oh my God, we had a
2-minute
conversation the other day about the neighbor across the street, and I went, Mom, I don't fucking care.
Say,
stop talking to me about this. And she goes, but I don't have anything else to talk about. Right, I know. So stop talking to me about this shit.
Yeah. And so the whole thing is every time we say our moms or something, our mom called ring ring, and so it's
okay.
My mom called ring ring.
So I talked to Mike on the way back, and I have those weeds around the house that I want pulled. That I called your guy for.
Yeah, and
very nice man, very nice wife. They want like $1,200, which I can't. I'm not paying that. I'm just not. And I said to Mike, hey, I'm gonna have your son come and rip all that shit out for $100 next spring. And he goes, well, he'll probably bring a friend or 2. I'm like, all right, I'll pay $150. I don't care.
Right.
Get it the fuck ripped out. And he's like, oh, they would be so happy.
$50 a piece.
Right. I'm sitting here going, there's one way to get shit done. Throw money at it.
Usually.
And I'm gonna find somebody cheap enough to throw money at it that I don't mind throwing the money at it.
Yep.
But everybody around me doesn't think that way, and I don't know why. Like, you're the one person.
I mean, depending on what it is, right? Like, I mean, and that's the thing. Like, you and I have things that we'll pay for and things we won't pay for, right? Like, and oh man, it's so like me, computer stuff. I'll just be like, oh, somebody else take care of this. Dave would be like, I can do that in 2 seconds.
Yeah.
Okay, take care of it.
Give it to me. I'll take care of it.
He'd be like, hey, I got this question. I'm like, dude, I can do that in 2 seconds. Okay, take care of it.
I have a gas smell.
Right.
I don't know what the fuck to do. Hey, Nick, I got a gas smell. What the fuck do I do?
Right. Hey, this, well, no, apparently the answer is Nick, come over and actually do it.
Even though we didn't know that. The best part is nobody will listen to this that would be mad about this.
Right. So, all right, Rebecca, sorry, back to you.
We go off on tangents a lot.
I'm listening. I hear that.
So walk us through, and now is your primary focus women in your business, or?
It is.
Okay.
Yeah. So, in 2 of my 3 businesses. Yes.
2 of 3 businesses. Jeez.
Yes.
All right.
So, yeah.
What do you do?
So first and foremost, I'm a life coach. That's the part where I work mainly with women. Second of all, I own a women's event company where we curate our own events for women, and that's called Kaleidoscope Effect that I run with Alicia Shoemaker. We actually just had our last retreat in Dawn's space, so that was fabulous. And then thirdly, I still do Airbnb. We own 2, we manage a third, and then we also do a bedroom out of our house. But even though I do all of those things, I have a ton of space in my life and in my calendar because I don't function well if I don't have a lot of space, but also that helps me show up the best for myself, for my clients, and helps me teach them to be more present and to actually live and be versus like the doing and checking all the boxes and rushing on to the next thing.
Sure. So in this life coach, I guess, walk me through how you find clients, what you do with them, like the breakdown of the business.
Yeah. So as far as how I find clients, it works a couple of different ways. I actually used to do quite a bit of work with Squad Buddy, which I'm sure at least David's familiar. I don't know if you are now.
Familiar.
Okay. So I was
my
okay,
wife,
gotcha.
My wife usually just, I mean, she's in the group and then she constantly just asks me landlord questions. She's like, hey, somebody in Squad Buddy's asking, what I do with this for my landlord.
Mm,
One of my favorite stories, and I know things aren't supposed to get out of the group and stuff like
yeah,
that.
what
but,
happens
like,
in Squad Buddy stays in Squad Buddy.
right. But I had to know about it because this landlord like came in and took a drink out of somebody's fridge or something.
Oh my god, and I know
Oh,
exactly
I think I
who
remember that
is,
story.
because she worked for us.
Oh, really?
She did.
And it was like,
That was one of our employees.
my wife's like, what would you do? And I was like, as a landlord, I would never do this. Like,
Right.
but like,
That's
yeah,
crossing
so
so
I,
many lines.
right. But like, it's funny because I've given so much knowledge on that page without people knowing that it's actually me.
Yeah, right.
My wife's like, hey, yeah, we have rentals and this and that. And I was like, but how did we get rentals? Like, what did
Right.
we do for any?
Again, as I've told you before, if it's about her, it's you guys. If it's about you, it's you.
Yeah.
So if you did something, that's my husband. He's an asshole.
Yeah.
But if she's got anything that's positive, she's like, well, we
Yeah.
do that.
Well, and I know, like, I mean, I really, my wife it's literally just landlord things. I know nothing else really except for Squad Buddy's the one that funded your guys' mess up for the jerseys, right? Was that Squad Buddy?
No,
Oh,
that was
okay.
GR Boss Babes.
Oh, okay. So,
Because I fucked that.
yeah, you
the names up on the
hardcore messed it up.
fucking-
But,
fucking shirt.
so, but like, yeah, really, otherwise it's just women empowering women.
Yeah,
And I think,
which is great.
I think it's a great group.
Yep.
And I'm not, I wish there was a men's group like this, right?
Again, they're the
there?
reason that break room therapy exists.
Yeah, there you go.
Because Dawn hopped in there and she's like, hey, what do I do for my really pissed off husband? And they're like, oh, take him to a rage room.
Yeah.
She didn't know what the fuck
That's
it was, and she
hilarious.
looked it up, and they're like, hey, you should open that. And she's like, all right.
Yeah.
And I still
That's
have
so
never done
funny.
this.
I
So-
did not even know that part of the
Oh, yeah.
story.
Yeah, so she was looking for an outlet for me, and I don't like destruction if it's
Okay.
something that costs money.
Yeah, right.
Like, I don't mind, this is weird, I don't mind punching a hole in the wall, but I can do that.
That's the repair money that
That's
you
the
up
shit that
for.
pisses me off.
Yes.
Right.
So, like, if my wife and I fight, her first thing to do is grab something and throw it,
Yeah.
which skeeves me out because now you just broke something that we own, and now I'm really pissed off. Like, I was mad before, but now I'm really pissed.
Yeah.
But she's like, hey, people said we should do this, and there's one in Detroit. And I'm like, yeah, I'm not doing that. That literally just
sense.
skeeves me out. And she goes, well,
Yeah.
here's the problem. This is totally for me. I like this. And I'm like, cool.
Have
She
fun.
goes, I think I want to open this. I'm like, great, do that. I'll support you in any way possible, but I'm not ever fucking doing that. So I broke one guitar.
Yeah.
Because who doesn't want to break a guitar?
Fact.
And one cup, because it was a Trump cup. And give me that fucking Trump cup. I'm gonna beat the shit out of that.
Yeah.
But that's all I've ever broken here. And we've been open 4.5 years.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, so all right. So you find clients through that type of stuff.
Yeah.
Mm,
So yeah, I was actually in 2020. Elise and I, who was the head of Squad Buddy, Mod Buddy, and Naughty Buddy, her and I were actually neighbors, and we weren't
There's
close
3
before
Bettys?
that.
Oh yeah, there are.
Oh
Sorry.
yeah, one's a
It's like,
Facebook group,
there's
and the
more
other
than
two are her
one.
businesses. Yeah, but they're all Elise's. And during COVID, we already knew we were neighbors, but we'd never really connected, or we didn't have a friendship or anything like that. And she ended up posting something in Squad Buddy. We kind of went back and forth in the on the page, just having a conversation. And she's like, hey, do you want to do a porching? And so I was like, sure, because it was COVID. So we went and sat on her porch together and had this amazing conversation. And then within a week, it happened again. And she was telling me about some of the pain points in her personal life and her business. And so I ended up saying, hey, I can help you with that. So we ended up writing out a contract and figuring out what that would look like. And I was actually contracted with the Betty Spaces for 1.5 years. And I was Elisa's personal coach, but then I was the official life coach of that group. And I think at that time there were between like 4,500 and 5,000 women in there.
That's amazing.
Yeah. And then ended up working with both of her teams for Mod Buddy and Naughty Buddy as well. So I also got to work with her businesses. So that gave me a ton of exposure, a ton of traction. I'm also a little bit affiliated with GR Boss Babe, so I've got a few connections from there. But then since then, I've actually started branching out, reaching into national spaces to find clients too. And a lot of very female presenting Facebook groups. That's where I find a lot of clients.
feel like Nick has questions.
No, well, I mean, I just
Yeah,
you
I was
said
gonna say you can ask
Mo-
all the questions. I'm an open
Mob
book.
Betty.
Mod.
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 What is that?
So that's her photography studio, and she
Oh.
does a lot of boudoir photography, but it's very self-empowering. But she does a ton of other photography too.
And then what's Naughty Betty?
Naughty Betty
That's a
is the
little more
European
scantily.
themed lingerie store or
Oh,
store.
but it's still
Yeah.
photography.
No,
They
that's
have
an
a
actual
store.
Oh, there's a
store
store.
with
So
yeah,
Oh, okay. So
but it's in
because
the
I
same
know
space
about
as
this
Mod
shit.
Betty.
again, what happens in Squad Betty stays in Squad Betty, unless it's a
Well,
real
just
estate
Squad
question.
Betty, not Mod Betty and Naughty Betty.
I'm jumping in. So you can go to Elisa's place,
Okay.
and she has like a storefront which has lingerie and shit like
Yeah.
that.
Sure.
And she also does like the drag bingo there.
Yep.
Okay.
So I've gone to drag bingo there. And
And the photography studio's on the backside of the lingerie
okay.
store.
Gotcha.
so she has this
So-
big space that she does all of this stuff through.
Gotcha. Okay.
Mhm.
So yeah, all right. So they're not online things. These are actual. The other two are physical.
Physical
in person.
spaces. Yep.
And
Yep.
the squad is an online presence.
So
Okay.
if you
Yep.
want to go see a drag show, go
Yeah.
there.
No, so I know they're running one soon at Trey Scott's house, which we have to get to.
They are.
So
I sent that to Vanessa because she is so excited to go. And I'm like, here's one.
yeah,
We do need to get over there because we talked to him for a long time
yeah,
at the Donut Beer Fest.
yeah. All right. So you get a client, and so
Yeah.
and then what do you do with them?
So we work together for a year. First and foremost, that's really, really important because a lot of what I do with women is help them reconnect with who they are authentically. You know, there's so much like we feel like we need to be somebody for somebody else, or we grew up feeling like we needed to be this way, or it was the way that our mothers or our grandmothers, like that's just how they led by example. So we naturally fall into that same category. So I help them figure out who they actually are. And then get really curious about why they show up the way they do. So why do you feel the way that you do? Why do you think that the way that you do? Why are you triggered the way that you are? And instead of applying judgment, right, wrong, yes or yes or no to those things, we get curious and acknowledge what that feels like. And then start to figure out like how we show up as our best selves. So you guys were talking about sleep. That's a huge thing that's like I will not compromise, and it's also one of the reasons I don't really drink later at night is because it fucks with my sleep, and I'm not okay with that. So that's one of the like the start of looking at things as how we show up as our best selves, and then what are the habits that I can actually implement and the boundaries I can implement that will help me show up as my best self, which helps them build self-trust. But one of the reasons that we work so long together is because that self-trust piece is really, really, really challenging, especially if somebody isn't consistently there to reassure us that it's okay. This is really uncomfortable. It's really scary. I get it. There's pushback, but it's okay. And you can practice being yourself here, but then take that out into other spaces.
And so 1 year commitment for a contract.
Mhm.
And how often are you meeting, contacting, that type of a thing?
Yeah, so we meet twice a month and we meet for 90 minutes each time. And then we also have a 15-minute phone call during the month too, just to check in. Do you have any questions? How's it going? And then we also always have, like, you can email me in between if you have something come up that's easy enough to address and doesn't require a lengthy response. And then we also always have an ongoing document that you can access that will have like action steps that we plan to take. What are your goals? What are some of the things we're working on? What are some resources? Who should you connect with? What spaces should you be plugging into that align with those things? So you always have access to that information as well.
So that sounds, and so the end reason, now they're not all business people. It could be any.
No,
factors
it's
of what-
mostly individuals, but I do also work with small teams, and I just created a corporate training too.
Okay.
Diversifying.
Mine as well. I don't even know why I'm right. Like, I'm trying to take notes, and I'm sitting here
Yeah.
writing, and I wrote one, right. It was like women only
Yeah.
retreats or something, and I wrote it so small and so scribbled I couldn't even read
You
my
can't
own
read
writing.
it, right?
And then I just wrote small, and then I wrote like I was gonna write teams, and it says teams, but I can't even read it. I'm just like, why am I even trying to make these notes right now? Like, I'm getting frustrated with myself.
Maybe we just wing it
Say,
because we're really good at that.
I'll just gotta put my pen down. So, all right, and then okay, so what I guess, do you get personal satisfaction out of this, watching them grow and develop?
I mean, yes, I do. I definitely like there's nothing that's more fulfilling or makes me more proud than to see somebody recognize that there's not something wrong with them, but then also discover themselves and realize that there's a more rewarding way to live and it doesn't have to be crazy different from where they are. But I'm also the oldest of seven. I have five younger sisters. So like just that big sis energy really shows up in me. And so just being proud, but also the accountability and being able to challenge my clients is another big thing. And I think sometimes we don't allow ourselves to be challenged or we view that as there's something wrong with me. So being able to hold space for people and be able to challenge them in a really healthy way that allows them to grow is also equally fulfilling.
I tried to write a question and I did really good at it. But my
Cool.
question is what questions, so as if I wanted to come to you, what questions
Yeah.
would I ask to find a good life coach? Like, what are some of the things? I mean, because I don't think there's a specific life coach that's going to be great for everyone, right?
No. Yeah.
So
So yeah, I would say first of all, what is it are you working on? So what is it that you're really hoping to address? Like money coaches are going to have a completely different approach from a health and wellness coach that are going to have a completely different approach from a retreat coach to like a writing coach. Like there's so many different kind of life coaches right now. It's not even funny. So it's knowing what it is or thinking that you know what it is that you want to work on, but then it's just like finding a therapist or a doctor. Like you want to work with somebody that can meet you where you are and challenge you, but also like there has to be a connection somehow. Like there has to be enough trust and connection in that dynamic for them to be able to the client be able to show up and be vulnerable enough to share what they're going through, but then also for the coach to recognize whether or not they're good fit and to be honest about that, because that's part of it too. Like if we're just taking money to have a butt in a seat, that's not doing anybody a favor or anybody a service. It's doing a disservice. So it's making sure that you're finding coaches that actually know what the hell that they're doing, and making sure that they are not just exchanging dollars for time, and then also making sure that they're addressing the things specifically that you're trying to work on.
I
I almost feel like you and I should be financial coaches.
I mine as well. I'm everything else in
I
this
mean,
world.
the problem is we suck at it because we do all of this shit for free.
Right. So, you got 35 cents. No, I'm broke. That's why I need you. All right. Well, let's sit and figure this out.
I mean, how much free advice did you give to TJ and Danny on how to buy their first house?
Millions of dollars worth.
And how long did it take them to buy a house?
Weeks.
Right.
Like weeks. It was the best thing.
And how happy were we?
I'm still happy.
We're literally the worst businessmen ever.
Gosh, yes. Say we celebrate people's successes way too much.
Oh, I don't think that's possible.
I mean, that honestly is what makes us happier than anything.
Right.
Nick and I talk about this all the time. So, like, as coaches, we hate everybody we coach against.
Mhm.
But when it comes to money, if anybody we talk to has a money success, that's like all of our success. We're so happy.
Oh yes.
Right.
I say I had given David the suggestion of opening earlier on a Saturday or something, and it took a little bit of convincing for here to open. And then I get a text that was like, "Hey, we made an extra, I don't even know, $75 or $100, whatever. I don't even know the number, right?" But it's like, and I was like, "Bam, this is amazing!" Right? Like,
right.
We are on the right track.
We had a bunch of early appointments this last weekend.
Right.
Mind you, it was such a fight.
Yeah.
But once I was literally, I'm just sitting there going, it's just me and you. We don't have to have staff. It's no big deal. And once she decided, hey, it's really no big deal, and she opened it, all right, extra revenue.
Yeah.
Perfect.
It's
very cool.
And when you guys go on vacation, somebody can take the extra couple hours, right? Like it is, and that was, it's great to see that type of a thing go into effect, right? And because when you're not changing anything except for the one thing you have to give as a business owner, right? I mean, as business owners, we have no time, but we make it to make it happen.
It's the only way you're going to be successful is giving up your time.
Oh gosh, yes. I mean, I love people
But I don't give up my time.
yes, you do.
Not in a way that I'm compromising who I am at my core.
No, it's not giving.
Yeah.
But it's, I mean, to get a client, you had to put in some type of effort to get, to go online. You had to do, and so like that time, that aspect of things.
It's the same trade-off we all make.
Right.
You know, whether you work for a company or whether you work for yourself, you're like, all right, if I give up this amount of time, it should bring in this amount of revenue.
Yep.
And we're not necessarily doing it for the revenue, but
right,
that's a perk.
Yep. Well, I say, and so like every business, unless it was handed to you and you're sitting on a board and you have to show up once a year because legally you have to, right? Like every business owner has to give up time in order for exchange. So, it's a matter of how much, right? So not forgetting, it's nothing against, hey, you've changed who you are. No, it's, hey, this is the time I'm getting, and this is where I am, right? I mean, if you look at it and say, hey, if I put in 24 hours a day, where would I be? Yes, I would be an emotional wreck of a person and I wouldn't do a good job at it, but I'd be filthy rich, right? Like, or hey, I can do a great job, give this high quality of a thing for this, and then my low end clients go out and my high end clients come in and I can still do the time. So
you and I talked about it. First 6 months, I was the one that worked break room therapy.
Oh gosh, yes.
Because Dawn had to make money elsewhere because we had to still function as a family.
Yeah, well, and it took a lot of people to tell her, hey, like you have to commit to, right? You can half-ass two things or whole-ass one thing.
Correct.
So
and once she figured out, all right, I'm gonna whole-ass this thing.
Yep.
It just took off.
And that's exactly it, right? It's being able to take that risk. So
it's the burn the boats approach.
Yep.
It's someday I'll do it. So, no. So and then you so you're meeting twice a week, 15-minute phone call. Sorry, twice a month, 15-minute phone call during the month. Now you're meeting in person, online via Zoom. Like, what are we talking here?
It depends on the person and where they are. So generally, if we're in the greater Grand Rapids area, we will meet in person, and sometimes it'll be in my home office. Also, what I recently pivoted to was doing things where we weren't in my home office, but we're actually out and about, like doing walk and talks. I had a conversation with my mentor a couple of weeks ago, or a couple of months ago, and one of the things that really hit me during our conversation, and she's very successful, owns multiple businesses, she's on tons of boards and committees, and she was talking about the fact when we were on our walk, she's like, I haven't walked since last time you and I connected, and I love to walk. And I was like, that was 1.5 years ago. Like, it blew my mind, because I'm first of all, very intentional about moving my body, just because like I have horrible pain if I don't. And I love to be outside and be present and just set the tone for my day that way. But then I started really reflecting on some of the other clients I've had, and the fact that when I connect with them, and then when I've connected with just people that I love to have in my space, a lot of the times we do walk and talk. So if you're in the Grand Rapids area, we can do that. We can actually go out, have the coaching session where we're walking together. If you're not in the greater Grand Rapids area, then what we can do is we actually, if you want to still be mobile, and that's one of the things that we're working on, is you moving your body more, then you'll get on the phone, I'll get on the phone, and we'll have the conversation while we're walking. But if you are just more interested in the coaching aspect, then it would be via Zoom.
Sure. They say David and I don't walk you. They say from the field and to the car.
Yeah, I walk from my car to the field back.
We prefer not to do that.
I would totally be happy if I had one of those rascals and I could just drive it.
Ambulance. There's an emergency out there. Take me with you. The emergency was I had to get there. So all right, when it comes to financial things, what are some of the issues that you're seeing, and you're dealing with the women, right? So like, because sexism, right, is a thing. Men are normally the financial providers and the things like that. So like, what are you seeing now in today's society? What are you seeing with some women? And, you mentioned earlier, hey, like we got this trait from my mom or from my grandma, right? So like those were things. So what are some of the issues that you're seeing from that side?
So some of the things I'm seeing, and also that I'm navigating myself, is you know, because it has been more in the past, a couple of different things that men were the ones that were handling the money. But also those older generations, they didn't talk about the money. They didn't talk about what they had. They didn't talk about where they put it. They didn't talk about how to use it. So a lot of that information was missing. And so now one of the things that I'm seeing is, for myself, it was so funny because do you guys know about abundance versus scarcity mindset?
Yeah.
Okay. So it was funny because I've done so much work on myself to work on that abundance mindset. And that's not just money, that's also like love and relationships and health and all of those things. And I felt like I did a lot of really good work there, but I was still coming up against this wall with money. And you can have a scarcity abundance or a scarcity mindset and still have a ton of money. Like that's not the thing that determines what that is. But I was like, why the hell am I still running into this wall after doing all this work? And so I started getting really, really curious and digging down deeper and digging down deeper. And one day it hit me, and this is what I'm seeing a lot of is I don't trust myself with money, right? Like it's that self-perpetuating cycle of this is what I've known, this was the example I was shown, this is the information I don't have, so I'm kind of at the mercy of, and because I didn't know all these things, like I didn't trust myself with money. So once I realized that, I was able to go back and say, I've done a ton of work on self-trust with myself. That's one of the reasons that I work on my clients with that a lot. I had to retrain myself how to be in romantic relationships because in a prior life, like that was not my thing. I was in super unhealthy relationships. So it took me a lot of time to relearn how to be in relationship, but also honor who I was and have really healthy boundaries in my relationship. And so once I realized like I don't trust myself with money, I was immediately like, shit, I can do this. Like I've had to retrain myself to do A, B, and C. This is just the same process applied to something different. So that's what I'm seeing and also what I'm navigating myself at the same time.
I'm gonna ask this. Who do you feel responsible for money wise?
My family, everybody,
Who specifically?
all of them.
No,
I mean, my wife, my kid, my mom. I mean, I don't talk to my dad anymore, but I used to, right?
right.
I mean, I like when it comes to an income aspect of
Right.
things, yes. So like that.
So you're literally not necessarily managing, but managing all of their money.
Oh gosh, yes.
So I had this conversation with my therapist, and she's like, but you worry about yours and Dawn's money, and then you worry about your mom's money, and then you worry about your daughter's money. And I'm like, right, because I'm the financial guy. So I have to make sure that everybody is taken care of. And she goes, but isn't that just too much for you to handle? And my answer is, who the fuck else is going to handle it? Because they all suck at it. Like, my wife's decent enough at it, but how many times have we had a conversation about my daughter getting a $300 haircut?
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Nick, she just got another $300
No,
haircut.
she didn't. After we
fucking
fucking
did. She fucking did. You know what she said to justify it?
Nope, I don't care. There's
Her justification was, this one's going to last longer. I said, you had the last one in June.
Was-
You had this one in September. It lasted 3 fucking months. What are we talking about? Yes, sir. Another $300 haircut. And how do I not take responsibility for all of these people? So it's great to sit there and look at money and go, okay, I have the responsibility to make sure that my household, which is just 2 people now,
yeah.
runs smoothly. But then I also have my mother who does not know what the fuck she's doing with money because she bought grain. And I have my daughter who got $200-$300 haircuts in 6 months.
Yep.
What do you do about that?
And another problem is, as fathers or as the people that we are, right? I mean, we take that responsibility and things, right? Like my wife and I are so different on money. I got yelled at yesterday, today, I don't remember. My wife was talking to a friend who's going through some financial things, and she said something to her, and I was like, you giving her financial advice is like me giving a person weight loss advice. And my wife just gave me like this fucking death look, like I'm the biggest piece of shit. And she's like, well, I'm better at it. And I was like, great, you are better. Like, I get that, but like, oh baby. Like,
yes, you're better. related to
So
what,
I'm
though?
curious about something. So you talk
Yes.
about the fact, David, that you're the money person and you do it when it comes to your mom, when it comes to your wife, your daughter, because who the fuck else is going to do it?
Correct.
So I'm curious, just for like an analogy, are there a lot of things that your wives do around the house that they have to do because nobody else can do it, right?
Oh my goodness, my wife does. I'm the first to admit
I don't take care of shit at the house, and I get yelled at all the time. The table's been dirty for 8 months. Right. I don't fucking care about the table. I don't give a shit that every piece of mail we've gotten in the last 8 months is on the fucking table. I don't care.
Guess I'm gonna go do the towels because nobody else will do them.
Right.
Did you give the responsibility to the kid? She's 8. Time for her to learn.
Exactly.
I'm not like, trust me.
That answers that.
I'm not afraid to admit my wife is a saint. She does so much more, right?
I do nothing around the house.
But
I'm the first to fucking admit it.
Don't they kind of make it? And I'm just as guilty. Like, this is not me pointing fingers or holier than thou or any of that. But so we look at that, right? Like, the wives are traditionally more the ones that are going to bear the burden of the household responsibilities, and the men are more going to be apt to bear the financial responsibilities. But what that means is those people stay in those lanes and we don't do better moving forward. So like, how do we empower and teach other people to do the things, maybe not exactly like we would, but at least to an extent where they can be responsible. And also thinking about the fact, like, a lot of times when we try to do something like that, it's way harder in the beginning because then we literally have to teach them and meet them where they are versus like, this is just how you do it, because we've all got questions. But on top of that, it's not just the questions, it's also understanding like what your core values are, like what's important to you as an individual. And I feel like a lot of times in couples, there's a huge disconnect between like what's important to me and what's important to you. And if you don't know those things about each other and you can't like trust and reconcile it, it just keeps it a shit show.
Oh yeah.
Well, and Nick and I have talked about this. I'm 13 years older than you? You 33?
35.
So you're 35. So I'm 11 years older than you. And I've said before, you're just about 10 years behind where I'm at. And the best revelation I ever had is my wife is not going to help with the money. She doesn't fucking care. I just need to take care of it. And you and I have had this talk before, and you're like, I don't understand why my wife won't just look at this and give a shit. And I've told you before, when you get to the realization that it's just never going to fucking happen, you will feel better about your life, because I hate the fact that it's all on me.
Yeah.
But at least I'm to the realization that it's just all on me and I just have to do it myself.
And, you know, I don't know. I want, and the problem is like, you go back to the teaching thing, like, and I try to teach my wife as much as possible. And, you know, it makes me proud that she comes and goes, hey, my 401k, what should I do with this? And what should, and I'm like, man, all right, these are actual questions. But you know, today, like I'm telling her I'm getting ripped off, you know, $40,000, let's just say. And granted, she's working, but she's like,
okay.
And then comes to me and like, she's like, why are you upset? And I was like, I just had to deal 10 minutes with a stupid ass person. That's like, you know, like, how do you not understand that money like is the thing that bothers me the most when, you know, and
she should know.
Right.
But I'm curious, though. I don't know you guys well enough, but was it maybe that she didn't understand because she knew that you would figure it out?
Oh, she just always thinks I'm going to figure it out 100%.
Yeah.
Right. Like, okay. Oh, I mean,
I don't need to care because they will figure it out.
Right.
My wife, I trust you. You're smart enough to get it. And it's like loving and affection. And I get it. But it doesn't help you one bit. It's just like David, right? I just want to bitch for a couple minutes and then I'll get through it. But like, I just need that 30 seconds of bitching, right?
The best bosses I've ever had have understood. He just needs to vent. Let him vent for 5 fucking minutes and he'll just do it anyway.
Yep. And no, I trust me, because my wife will, I don't know how to say the word, not complain or nag or whatever, like whatever the things I think she's doing. She will nicely explain to me that she wishes I would help around the house more. And so, you know, for a day or two, I'll help, and then I just get back to my normal life. But, you know, so let me ask you, from a woman's perspective, my wife wants me to clean the house more and help out more and do the inside things more. And I don't want to.
Right.
And been willing to pay for a maid to come in.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm fine with paying a maid every single day to come in and pick up my shirt that isn't in the laundry hamper and put it in the thing for me. So there's no right and wrong here, but if I'm willing to financially fix it and have it so she doesn't have those stresses, but she doesn't want one because she'd just rather me do it. See,
That's a hard one.
See?
Yeah, that's a hard, and it's
I
funny
have the
too,
same
because
argument.
so it's funny because like you talking about that. So we've actually had a cleaning person before too. And it's not even just that, right? It's like women take so much on that nobody fucking asked them to. Right? And they take ownership over that, but then they run around doing things, wondering why everybody else isn't wanting to do the things with them. Well, why the hell would anybody else want to be responsible for all the things that we make ourselves responsible for?
Yeah.
And it's so funny because that's actually one of the things I love the most about my relationship with Brian is the fact that he has been, and unintentionally, like we could not be any different if we tried. Like he describes himself as a simple feller. He literally says, I'm a simple feller, and I am like the deepest thinking, like bougie as shit with some things. And I think the thing I love the most about our relationship is the fact that he gives me permission to put more things down and not take things more seriously. And I think that's really hard for women to do. So like where to find the line between hire a maid because I'm not going to fucking do it, but I want you to want to do it. Like it's hard. And I think part of that's probably like she probably wishes somebody gave a shit as much as she does, even though she hates that she does.
I just don't care.
We're 50 minutes.
I don't want to do any of it.
Right.
I would rather pay somebody to come in. And the argument I hear is it's your shit.
Right.
Somebody else shouldn't pick it up. Yeah, but I'm not going to. I don't want to. It's not worth my time.
Right.
I will bend over and pick up a fucking penny on the ground.
Yeah.
But I'm not picking up that sock. I'm just not fucking doing it. It's not happening.
So does she need to put pennies in your socks?
It's just not happening. It will happen, but it will happen 3 weeks after you want it to happen.
David will pick up the penny from inside the sock and drop the sock.
Correct.
So I have a question for you guys, like kind of rolling off of that. Do you guys feel like when your ladies want you to do something around the house, that unless you do it exactly like them, it's not good enough?
Correct.
Oh, yes.
Okay.
We have to be mind readers.
Yes.
Literally. I had that fight yesterday.
Yes, of course. Like, I mean, if I go and do something, she's gonna go touch it up, fix it up. You know, because well, you half-assed it. Why even try? Because you wanted me to fucking want to do this, and I gave it effort.
Right.
We talked about this. So, cutting weeds in the fucking
in the backyard,
in the woods.
Yeah.
So Dawn went down with me the first day I had to do this, and she goes, I really feel like this is going to be stupid. I'm like, it's going to be even stupider than you think. So her and I start cutting shit. And my mother is going behind us, cutting all the shit we didn't fucking cut. And she says to me on the way home, I don't know why I was doing anything, because she was literally going behind me and cutting further into the wood. I'm like, right, that's what she does. And that's how I feel when it comes to cleaning shit at my house with my wife. I can do it, but it's not the way you want me to do it. Right. So you're going to go behind me and do it anyway. So why did I do it in the first place?
Well, and my wife has come down. I haven't gone up. Let me tell you that. Right. I have no problem living my life out of a laundry basket. Right.
Correct.
I will throw this shirt, these pants, this underwear into the washer, into the dryer, and I will pull it right back out of the dryer. Yep. Right. And go, why do I need to hang it up? I'm not folding this. Like, it's literally going to get used and do the exact cycle. Like, to me, it's a waste of time for that, right? And it's not like it's any more organized. I literally only own, so much that I'm going to wear all week long.
Do you make the bed?
No. So I have made my bed before. I know how.
Careful, that's a sore point over here.
I have to ask this because this is the guy thing. Do you make the bed?
I do not make the bed.
Do you pull the covers up? Because I do that.
No, I do not.
I pull the covers because I work on the bed.
Oh, sure.
So I pull the covers up, but I have never made a bed. I'm 46 years old. I've never made a bed.
Yep.
And I'm going to go to the grave never making a bed.
So, I mean, right, my Aunt Linda, like, she's my great aunt. Like, she lived with us, and so she always made my bed for me
Mhm.
as a child,
Mhm.
as a young adult. Like it was fun. My wife and I were dating, and we'd come home and my bed would be made. And
Yeah.
my wife's like, "Oh, you make the bed?" And I was like, "No, my aunt does that. Like, why the hell would I make my bed? You know, like I got people." Like, and my aunt's a saint of a woman, right?
Yeah.
Like I love her to pieces, but yeah, I was never raised to do those types of things, right? Like my parents divorced, and yeah,
Mm.
on Sunday we would, my dad would make us go, "Hey, we have to clean for an hour," type thing, and by that, you're gonna go stand in the corner and look like you're taking a pee. But
Right.
right, like it wasn't stuff I had to do, right? I
Mhm.
mean, yes, which is why I do the outside work, right? I always had to mow a
Mhm.
damn lawn. So and mowing lawn equals I can mow the next person's lawn and I'm gonna make money. So
I never had to clean.
Yeah.
Ever. My
Yeah.
mother cleaned everything. Ring, ring. My mother cleaned everything.
Yeah.
I never had to clean my room. I never had to clean anything else. It was just done.
Yeah.
So I'm 46 years old now. It should just be done.
And say it's so weird. I put these clothes right here and there's a magic folding fairy.
Yeah.
All the clothes.
The only time I took care of my clothes
Yeah.
was my football clothes.
There you go.
Because I didn't want to wear muddy mess every day. So I came home every day from practice. I washed my shit and then I took it back to school the next day. And,
Yeah.
it just went every day. That's just what it was.
Yeah. So anyway, I guess why do you ask?
What did I ask? Was it about now I forget because you guys brought up the making bed thing and I can't remember what was
Yeah.
before that.
So you had asked us
About the house.
Yeah.
house
Yeah,
work?
it's-
And do
So
we
it
feel
was
like when
basic-
we do it, it's not up to our wife's
yeah,
standards?
to our wife standards.
Right. So I mean, it's kind of going back to that piece of like when you're handling the money, like having to take the time, wanting them to do it your way, and that's like exactly what keeps you stuck in that cycle and feeling responsible for all the things.
I can't say I want her to do it my way. I just
Okay.
don't want her to do it her way.
Right. Right. No,
Well,
I
this
totally
is-
get that. I feel like that's where me and my boyfriend are right now.
Like you can do it any way you want that works for you as long as you know
Long
exactly
as-
what you're doing and
Okay.
it works. Okay.
See,
Like,
and my thing is, I don't want you to do it at all. I just want you to have some knowledge about what it is.
right.
Know
Mm.
what's in your account, know what's in my account, know what's coming out in the next week.
Yep.
But
So you
there's
guys
none
were,
of that.
yeah, you guys were asking me before, like some of the things that I see that are happening, and especially when it comes around money. And I think that's one of the things too, is like avoidance, right? It's like the shame over I either don't know what the fuck I'm doing or I'm doing it wrong. And so if I avoid it, then I don't have to deal with it. But also, guess what? It doesn't get any better either. And I sure as shit don't feel any better about it. And that's a hard one.
I say I can see that. And it's I do give my wife a lot of credit. She has come a very we've been married 13 years
Mhm.
and she finally has savings.
Mhm.
I'm really proud of her. And that's great, but like it is 13 years and she finally has savings,
It's
right?
taken
Like,
a long time.
and so but and the problem is I think what bothers me is like I will tell you, yeah, you're welcome, right? Like I don't get the credit for the things that I've done in that sense. And I'm like, oh yeah, no, all of my no fucking knowledge and making sure that you don't spend and buying this. No, God, no, it definitely wasn't me. It was all you. These fucking thoughts just randomly popped in your head. Yeah, but that's probably the biggest thing that bothers me right now. But
Okay.
I don't need the thanks.
oh, I do.
I just need you to know what the fuck is going on without me sitting there and going, these are the fights I hate. So I have, I don't know, 12 credit cards.
Mhm.
Okay. Because each thing gives me a different fucking reward.
Yeah.
Know what each one gives me
See, and you
without calling me and going, what credit card do I use at the gas station? You should fucking know. I wrote it down for you. Why don't you know?
See, and that like to me, that's really hard because your demands are so demanding, right? Like 12
Mm.
credit cards to remember what the hell to do with. I
Okay,
can't remember.
I have
That's like
12 credit
remembering
cards,
which
but
pillow
I
goes
only
where
have
on the
like 4
couch.
that you need to remember.
But dude, I have a business card and a debit card, right? Like, and I have to remember just myself which one. Like when I go to the hardware store, I'm like, oh wait, hold on, I got to swipe this card because this is a bit.
Ask me if you can remember this.
Yeah,
There's 2 different cards you use at a grocery store.
yeah,
There's one card that you use at a gas station.
okay,
There's one card that you use for eating out.
Okay.
Everything else goes on this card.
No.
Why?
4 things.
I'll write that shit down.
5.
I don't want to. When I go to the gas station, I don't want to sit here and have to punch in my phone number to figure out what my rewards are. Then look at a fucking Palm Pilot.
Who cares?
And then go,
what
"Oh,
your
I-
rewards are. You just
Yeah, exactly. Who cares what your rewards
You
are?
just sit there and you go, all right, I'm at a gas station. I use Bank of America. They give me 3%. Done.
If you wrote it on top of my card, like on the physical card, I'd probably be okay.
Then I can do that. I can write gas
Yep.
and grocery.
I could do that.
Done.
Yep, I could do that.
But you know what I get told? No, I don't want that. Why would I want that?
So curious, like, have either of you ever unloaded your dishwasher at home?
All
Actually,
the time.
Okay.
I will unload my dishwasher.
I will load it
I
too.
will not unload it. Or sorry, I will not load it. I will unload it. And that is one thing I have tried to step up and do more because, and the problem is, and my wife fights me
Uh-huh.
because friends of ours, we were sitting having this conversation and they're like, oh, we bought a magnet where you flip it and it says clean and dirty.
Clean or dirty.
And I was
yep.
like, oh, we should get that. And she said, we don't need that. There's a stupid little fucking thing on top. But the problem is, I also made a deal with my wife, and it wasn't trying to be an arrogant thing. I said, hey, I will buy you brand new appliances. Because she's been bitching about the dishwasher forever. I said, the only stipulation I have is you never bitch about this dishwasher again, ever. Right. And I don't have to do these stupid dishes. Because that's the only thing like I won't really do is like do the dishes because I can't stand food and
Yeah, I don't mind that.
gross. But like, so I won't load it. But I'm like, hey, these are the only things. And so then that came into I have to help unload. And I was like, fine. So I do unload. And a lot of the times my wife is 5'7", which is a tall woman, right? But all of my like upper cabinets are, 7 foot fucking 9. And so I have to reach and do all that. So like it's just easier for me to unload. And our dishwasher sits like when the door is open, it's 4 feet away or whatever it is, 3.5. So it's easy for me to put the plates up and stuff like that. But there's times where I don't know when the hell she runs the dishwasher. And I'm like, we have a thing that could fix this. Yes, it'd be your responsibility to say clean or dirty. Because she gets mad because I don't load. Even if the dishwasher is completely unloaded and I know I just unloaded it, I'll throw my dish in the sink. And she's like, why can't you just put it in the fucking dishwasher? And I'm like, there's a sink right there. Right? Like,
Here's the question for you.
Yeah.
This is the part I have problem with is laundry.
yeah.
I'll wash the
That was
laundry.
my next question.
I'll dry the laundry and then it goes in a basket.
We'll never take care of it.
Do you care if you wear the same 3 shirts every week?
No, God, no.
No, I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
I don't need to put them away. It's perfectly fucking fine. And there's a different level of dirty. Like if I wear this shirt today, I can wear it tomorrow.
Yeah.
Depending on what I've done in it. If I go out and I work in a field, I'm not going to wear it tomorrow. It's filthy.
Oh man,
But if I wore it on the podcast, this shirt's clean
for an hour, right?
Right.
And that shirt's been sitting in the corner for 10 weeks.
When's
right?
the last time you washed it?
God, never, right?
But you wear it for the podcast.
Right,
That's it.
for an hour, But I have like my car is filthy, which is fine. But like I had a funeral yesterday. And I was like, oh man, like I'm in this, right? Jeans and a t-shirt and some sandals. And I was like, ugh. But I thought it was like a funeral, not like a visitation thing. So I thought I had to be there right at 1, and my GPS was like 1 o'clock. And so I get there and I was like, man, I think I still have a polo in the back. So I grab a black polo out of the back and I was like, oh shit. And I see my dress shoes and I was like, oh, I have dress shoes. Granted, I don't have any socks, but looks like the dress shoes are going on. I was like, look at me. This is what I get for being filthy. Like, but and it looked fine. But I was like, I wear that polo for 35 seconds, right? Like I was in the visitation for an hour and a half and it's back in the car, right? Like for the next adventure. But I don't care about that. Like this, I could never wear a shirt 2 days if I wear it for longer than this podcast.
My wife hates folding laundry. There's no fucking fold it. I don't give a shit. Just give me put all of my clothes in a basket and I'll figure it out from there.
Yep.
But you won't put it away. Right.
Correct. Let's say, yep, that's a fact.
That's so funny. So the reason I was asking about the dishwasher and my next question was going to be the laundry, just because like the dishwasher didn't really resonate. But David, you're talking about having these 12 different credit cards, right? And each one has a different reward. So you've got to use this one of this and this one for that. There's got to be something around the house that your wife feels the exact same way about, where it's like, hey, it's these 7 steps, or you have to go through these different systems in order to do the thing. But like, you want her to give a shit about something she doesn't give a shit about. And she probably wants you to give a shit about something she doesn't want to give a shit about. And like neither's right or wrong, but it's so funny how we can just like ram our heads against the wall trying to force it to
Yeah.
like make a difference to somebody.
Yeah, in
the-
our
the-
house,
the-
it's
the-
the fucking table.
The glass measuring cups do not go above the microwave, no matter how many times I put them up there. They don't go there. I still haven't learned, but that's where they go.
For me, it's the fucking table.
So-
Why is all of this mail on the table? Because I don't want to look at it right now. That's why.
so-
And then, mind you, she'll come in and throw the fucking mail right on the table. Well, why can you throw it on the table, but I can't?
Nope.
Because she's gonna take care of it. Is that why?
No, it just sits there forever.
Okay.
Until
Okay.
hey, she will take care of it. She'll take care of it 2 months later, and she'll yell at me because I didn't take care of it before.
And I feel like my wife and I are definitely growing. Don't get me wrong, but like, you know, we're the same thing, like on the counter or on the
Mhm.
table with all this mail. And then so finally, like I'll be sitting down working at the computer at the kitchen table, and she'll just come over to me with a pile. Hey, can you go through this? And so like I stop and I'm just like, don't need, don't need, don't need, don't need, don't need, don't need, need, don't need. Like, and then she just takes this pile, throws it into the recycling. I go through this pile, and then 3 days later, she's like, do you need these bills? And I was like, is there a date on them that says I've paid them? No. Then I need the bill. Is there a date on them? Yes. It goes into that box. You know where they go. Like we've gone over this 10 times. I have a very small system, right? Like I don't understand how this is going. So, but she knows how to like, hey, just stop, focus, get my attention, make me go through it right now, and don't ask me again, right? Because I don't want to do this every day. I will do it as often as you want, but like, it's
Well,
got-
with my wife, God love her, but
Yeah.
with my wife, she'll do this shit
bless
to
your
me
heart.
while I'm working.
Yeah.
So it's like 11 o'clock on Tuesday,
Yep.
and I'm in the middle of shit that I hate because I hate everybody at work.
Yeah.
And she'll go, why haven't you cleaned this table? Here's all this shit. And I'll take it and I'll just toss it on the side of the bed because I don't have time for this right now. Okay. I don't care.
Yeah. Well,
And
so you've been
I was
working
gonna
from
say-
home for so long
Yeah.
that like you would think your wife understands that you're working from home, but how leisurely you are working from home, I don't think it resonates with her.
We're going to let Rebecca
and I was
say
gonna
it,
s-
and then I'm
yeah, I
going
was
to
gonna say the thing that immediately came to mind when you said that, David, is the fact that I think a lot of times women have so much, like I said, we shoulder so much that we don't
Mhm.
need to. We make stuff ours that doesn't need to be
Mhm.
ours, and we don't know where to put it. And we want other people to care, but why the hell would they want to care about all the things we make ourselves care about?
Mhm.
And so I think immediately when you said that, the first thing that came to mind is I think a lot of times, like, we don't stop to, like, we want it out of our head, right? Address it right now, get it out, move on to the next thing. And that's the thing that keeps us, like, always addressing things and just like picking really bad times to talk about things and not realize, like, you don't give a shit right now because we just want it out of our head. And you
No, I
probably
totally
want
get
it out
that.
of our head too, but you don't want to be responsible for it.
Oh, totally.
I say I feel like we walked into marriage counseling. all of a
We
sudden
kinda
here.
do.
Say- So
Here's our issues with our wives
Right.
wanting us to do shit, and we just want to be left alone.
right,
Again, you and I just want to throw money at it.
that's a fact.
Oh, you need shit done in the house? Here, I'll just throw money at it.
It's done. Look at that. It fixed it all. Well, then, say, our wives will just say, oh, then you're complaining about money. Well, yeah, it's
Absolutely.
same, but
Oh
I'm
man.
you're not complaining about that anymore.
Right.
So, now do your clients go through this constantly too?
I mean, not always with money, but in some capacity. Like, it's so funny how caught up we get in our expectations of what something should look like without taking the time to consider what's important to the other person and recognizing, like, it doesn't have to be the way we want it, right? Like, we're really bad at that. We love to control how things look in general, not always, but like in general, like, we just love to have that certainty. And so it's not always with money, but it's usually with something, whether it's household tasks or money or how the relationship was, or like who's doing more in therapy. Like, there's a lot of things where our expectations, the unspoken ones, are really the ones that get us in trouble.
So sorry. So you have this business. What's your second business you have?
Kaleidoscope Effect, the women's
Okay.
event company.
Women's event company, and strictly just big events for women.
So it's going to pivot next year. This year we were actually doing monthly connection events. And those were smaller. They were usually 25 or less. And then we were having quarterly retreats. We had a migration, which is where we bookend a women's conference. That was in August. And then our big event is our winter basque, which is the women's celebration of self. And that's going to be every January.
Okay. And all right, how do you, so you charge people to come to these events?
Oh yeah, all of them. Yep.
Okay. And what do you do in these events? It's not, I mean, because whenever I think of, hey, we have a retreat twice a year, I just think multi-level marketing. That's all my brain ever
Oh
goes
no,
to.
no. So a lot of what we do is with our events, we create space for the women to show up holistically. So that means that it's not just strictly from a professional standpoint. It's not just strictly from a personal standpoint. It's however they want to show up. It's a space to connect versus networking. So we actually called our monthly events connection events versus networking because it's knowing people more versus knowing more people. So we really want to have those like quality interpersonal relationships with our community. We always pick a theme to talk about, and there is no like the only mandatory thing is you have to pay for your ticket and you have to wear a name tag, but how much you participate in the conversations is completely up to you. If you're just there to observe and listen, that's fine. If you want to share what your thoughts are on the conversation, that's fine too. But we would pick themed conversations for every single month, just speaking to something that we see coming up that we are hearing a lot about, that it feels like if we had a space for a conversation, it would help everybody feel a lot better about things. And then with the retreats, like for instance, I said our last one was actually at break room therapy. So that was amazing. And we do a different one every quarter. They are themed around, so kaleidoscope is actually what you call a group of butterflies. So we've got a lot of butterfly language and themes. And so with the break room therapy one, that was a metamorphosis themed retreat, which is more taking up space, stepping into your power, just really stepping into that next version of yourself. So we again had a collective conversation with a theme, but it was really about like that one specifically was about breaking labels that no longer served us. And that didn't mean that they had to be labels that were bad, but sometimes we have to get rid of good to make room for great. And so that's what we did, is we actually came in, had a conversation, wrote down on some of the items we were going to break, like that, those labels that we wanted to break, and went and smashed the shit out of them.
That's great. Jeez, this is, women always put on way better events than guys. Say
Our events usually focus around drinking and talking.
right. Say
I mean, is that a normal day?
I
Yeah,
mean,
it's Tuesday.
yeah, really.
Say,
Okay.
but
I mean, our podcast
If that's what you
revolves
like,
around
though.
talking and drinking.
and then sorry, you have a third business, which remind me one more
It's the
time.
Airbnb.
Airbnb. Okay.
Yep.
All right. So now, because you have my curiosity,
Yeah.
so where are they located?
The Airbnb. So two of them are actually in the grand, like 43rd Division area. Both of them have in-ground pools. One has a hot tub. Your face is hilarious right now.
43rd in Division.
Yeah.
We'll talk off air, but
Okay.
I own enough. I own 3 houses on 43rd.
Oh,
so
okay.
like, sorry, like I'm sitting here going, man, there's
Where?
Airbnbs in my area, and I don't even have a clue about them. So yeah,
You need to Airbnb some of those fucking places.
that's what I'm saying. Yeah,
so there's those two, and then we co-manage a third one, or manage one for another party. A friend of a friend that's out near Schaefer and Breton Road. So it's about 5 minutes from the
Yeah.
airport. And that one's actually, so the two that we own sleep 9 people. And like I said, they have in-ground pools. One has a hot tub. The executive home that's out near Breton and Schaefer actually sleeps 15 people. It has a huge indoor gaming area downstairs, super oversized. Everything, like rooms are just huge. There's a whole primary suite with an office. So that's just a huge space. And then like I said, we do a bedroom out of our house too. And that's the one that I manage. And then the boyfriend manages the other one. So that makes it a lot easier on me too.
okay. And why did you do Airbnbs versus short term? Or sorry, cheese
I
and
was
crab
like,
meat
Airbnb is not short term.
versus long-term rental.
Money. I mean, money, and like Brian wanted to get in. So he's a third generation contractor. So he's always been into framing houses was his big deal. He's been doing it for years. He's got his own company, but his big thing was framing. And he, when we met, was just tapering off from doing a lot of work like in the Saugatuck area. But when people with a lot of money want their houses worked on, it's when they're not using them, which is in the middle of winter on the lakeshore, which really sucks for the guy outside framing things.
Yep.
So he was pretty much over that. And then when we met, I was doing Airbnbs out of my old house, and he saw, I mean, just out of my old house, the one bedroom that I had and everything else was a shared space. I could make $1,700 a month just
Yeah.
from one bedroom. And I didn't have a mortgage on that house. I owned that house free and clear. So that was on top of my day job and anything else I was doing. So he started to see that and also see how it operated and got more curious about that. And then we actually did a couple of flipping. We flipped a couple of houses. We flipped a couple of condos in Grand Haven. We did one in Hamilton. And we also always go in and find these really interesting properties, as in sometimes they look like shit and or usually and also cannot get a traditional loan for them. So go in, pay cash. We both have great vision. We're not scared of a lot of things that we see. So we're just able to go in and use that to our advantage and flip them for a profit. But then over time, like you still like that's still a lot of time and energy invested, and you still get a pretty good return on your money, but not nearly as much as with a short-term rental. So that's why we ended up shifting to that. And it's just, I mean, it's a lot of communication on the day-to-day, but outside of that, there's not a ton of maintenance or overhead that goes into it.
Sure. Yeah, I own no Airbnbs. It sounds like too much of a headache for me.
What you do is too much of a headache.
It is, but as I say, I'm not doing it weekly, right? Or I have to constantly or daily. I know some people that are booking theirs so often. And so do you have a cleaner for those?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yep. We have a couple of different cleaners, and actually the houses that he manages, if we don't have somebody to clean, he actually goes in and does them. The only thing that I clean is the one in our house, the one bedroom.
Okay. And man, so all right, let's talk about the over on 43rd. So
Yeah.
what did you pick them up for? What do you have into them, and what are you getting out of it?
Yeah, so the first one that we bought on 43rd was actually during 2020. It was basically an estate sale. Somebody ended up passing away during 2020. The son lived out of the state, didn't have any idea what property value was, had a buddy that lived in the Detroit area that just slapped a price tag on it. They were originally trying to work something out through the buddy as a realtor. He was dropping the ball on a lot of communication. So Brian finally got fed up and reached straight out to the owner and was like, hey, like, I know this is what we agreed on. This is what we were going to do. But after all this hassle, like, this just is not something that I'm okay with. I can pay cash. This is what I'll offer you. How do you feel about that? And he ended up taking it. So I want to say it was 127. And at the time it was a 3-bedroom, 1-bath, main floor. And then there's potential for 2 bedrooms in the basement level, but there's no egress windows or anything.
Sure.
But then there's also a full bath down there. So that one I think we picked up for 127. I couldn't tell you what we have into it because he manages all of those pieces. I just manage the one here. I do know that first summer, so we picked it up like in November, basically like redid everything on the inside. We always go in, decorate, paint, new flooring, all of those things. So on the other side of that, our best month in 2021, which obviously peak season is during the summer and with the pool and the hot tub. So July, I think we made like $12,000 just in that one month. So yeah.
Yeah, that's let's see. I'm gonna get rid of mine and all Airbnbs. No, I can't deal with pools either. So this is another reason
You can't
why
deal with your own pool.
That's what I'm saying. I can't Airbnb because I just can't deal with all the crap. Okay, and then let's say your personal house. How often are you renting that out?
Pretty consistently right now. So during the summer, we had it rented out in advance more. But now we're running it out a lot more last minute, but it's still probably at capacity for at least 2/3 of the month. And again,
Okay.
it's just, they have a shared bathroom downstairs. So I'm an empty nester. I have a 19-year-old. Well, he'll be 19 next month. He doesn't live here, but he comes to visit pretty frequently. So when he's here, they do share the bathroom with him. But outside of that, like basically the whole lower level, including a separate living room, is all theirs to enjoy. So yeah. And we love it. And we have some really interesting people come stay with us. Interesting in a good way.
Yeah. How many bottles of liquor do you guys get on a weekly basis?
None.
Really? You're the
You mean
first
from guests?
Yeah, that leave them.
None.
Oh
No.
my goodness. All of my friends.
So
it's
here's
like their
I
biggest
say
thing.
that from my standpoint with the one bedroom, right? So there's
Yeah.
not a lot of people. Like usually when they come to town, we get a lot of traveling nurses. We got a lot of people that are similar to age and us who are here to visit their adult children. So like these people are not coming to hang out at the house and have some drinks. They're either at work or they're doing their thing with their own families. But neither Brian or I drink beer or anything even remotely close to beer. He's a big rum guy. I love a sweet hard cider and a margarita. And so like he has brought home definitely like not liquor so much, but seltzers, hard seltzers, cases of beer, all kinds of stuff like that before. And
Yeah.
it's hilarious because it sits there forever because neither one of us drink any of that. So over the summer, he was actually taking it up to the
Sounds
campground
like
that
we
he
have
was
a new
visiting.
sponsor.
If you ever want to sponsor Bucks and Brews, we're happy to try all of those beers.
Yeah.
Okay.
I have a buddy that he has an in-law suite, and I mean, every weekend he was getting at least one bottle left, and it was just like, holy cow! Like these people, they leave so much stuff, right?
That's hilarious.
And yeah, say, no, all right. So where do you see yourself in the future? Where do you want to get to?
Yeah. So fun fact, Brian and I actually have a plan to move to a Caribbean island in a few years.
Okay.
So everything that I'm doing right now, including with Kaleidoscope, is structured in a way to keep us on the trajectory for that. So one of the things I'm doing right now, and the movement piece of my coaching is kind of part of this, is creating experiences and retreats that are centered more around like that living experience. Because one of the things I love to do is connect with people, but then also learn about the environments I'm in, especially like the cultural aspects of them. So really starting to be able to go out, find spaces that are enjoyable for us, but then be able to create experiences around that that will allow us to learn more about the culture, share it with other people, but then give us the exposure to actually connect with potential clients too.
Sounds like we're going to be neighbors.
Because my wife won't move.
I'm looking for a place in the Caribbean myself.
Are you?
I am. Dawn came and she looked at my computer the other day and she goes, "The fuck are you doing?" I'm like, "I'm looking for a retirement home. That's what I'm doing."
Where does the one guy live? The one that we like to follow on TikTok.
Honduras.
Yeah. So I might move there. I can get an oceanfront property.
For nothing.
$200,000
and conserve all of your water.
Yeah,
there is none.
I'll just get it shipped in. No, and that's so. Are you guys a member of the RPOA?
No.
Okay, well, so you should look into it. It's the Rental Property Owners Association. My good friend is the head of short-term rentals. So it might be a thing to help you guys out with growing the business and things like that, people to connect with. So I had no idea that 43rd and Division was any Airbnb area.
Not at all.
This is blowing my
So
mind.
I would say too, like the biggest ding that we get in our reviews for those locations, it's location, right? Which is so funny because like the little pocket neighborhoods they're in aren't horrible. I mean, they're nothing sexy at all. Definitely not, but they're not horrible. Everybody kind of keeps to themselves. The yards are well maintained. Everybody picks their houses up. But yeah, that's definitely the thing that we get dinged on the most is location.
Yeah, the same, which doesn't surprise me, I guess, because
right.
I mean, I am your location.
So you have several places over there.
I mean, I was trying to run it through my head. I mean, literally, I don't know, 17 in that, like,
Yeah.
So Buchanan, I mean, I own East and West all the way
Okay.
from 36.
You and Brian need to connect, because the other thing is too, like the property that we co-manage for Airbnb, he also owns a ton of long-term rentals in the area. But Brian has also considered going into like, quadplexes, duplexes, things like that, like multifamily buildings, and as far as investing for that piece too.
Yeah, the same. I do all that type of stuff, but I say I just don't have the cojones to Airbnb. So, now one of the questions was the only one scripted question now
That we ask.
is what is the one biggest piece of advice you could give people in this world? It doesn't have to be business. It could any piece of advice you would give people in this world.
Figure out who you are and be unapologetically that.
I like it. I have to write that down. So if I
write it down
is,
so you can read it though.
The problem is we know who we are. We're
Right.
just
Mhm.
assholes.
I say people just don't like who we are.
Right.
But do you like who you are?
I love me.
And I hate
Okay.
myself.
I say I used to hate
Well-
I used to hate myself.
Yeah.
Up until this diet's really helped me get back to my confidence.
You're looking
levels.
good.
Like I really am starting to fall back in love with myself.
Good. But I
sorry,
think
I'm
the other
bragging.
piece of like being authentically yourself is also figuring out like what makes you happy and making sure that you implement that in your life in some capacity too, versus always justifying, like pushing it back.
Sure. And no, that's great. I say, being unapologetic for who you are is huge, because David and I don't apologize.
Yeah, we
for
don't
shit.
apologize for anything.
So,
We are what we are.
that's a fact. Now, all right, sorry. So your business, you're gonna move how many years? 5 years?
Coaching, or when are we going to move?
When are you gonna move?
In the next few years,
You
5
don't
years
have-
or less.
Okay.
No,
and
we don't
then-
have a timeline.
Now, are you a person that writes your goals down?
Yeah.
Okay. So I think every business owner should. That's gonna be a new
Mhm.
question if we ever get business owners on here. Do you write your goals?
We've had several business
Yeah.
owners.
I say. And then now you're just dating, you're not married.
Correct.
Okay. And so he's on board for all the same things.
Oh yeah, we've been having those conversations since the beginning. I screwed up enough, like I was joking about earlier, like in my past lives, that I'm super upfront with myself and whoever I'm with about what it is that I want, but also leave space for you and figure out ways to reconcile that. So yeah, we've been having these conversations since like 3 months in.
Sure. And I guess walk me through a little bit of that. Like what did you want that you've given him space for, and what did he want that he put into your space?
I think just permission to be ourselves is the biggest thing. Like I have a son, I don't need another one, and I refuse to mother anybody. And I've been really intentional about that. So being intentional about that does two things. It's like, if I'm going to accept you for who you are, you have to accept me for who I am too. So that permission just flows back and forth. But I think the other piece is him and I, like I said, we're so different in such vastly different ways. Like if you had to use 2 words to describe him, it'd be like, he says it all the time, oonce, oonce. Like he works hard, he plays hard, but he's just consistent. Like he is the same person that I met when we were dating 6 years ago, and we never pretended to be somebody different. You still learn things about each other along the way for sure. But just making sure like we continue to appreciate why we admired so much and connected so strongly in the beginning, and to continue to trust that and realize that we can trust each other to show up for each other too.
No, that's and I guess being different. It's surprising that you're both going to the Caribbean, Bahamas, right?
Yeah,
Caribbean.
yeah.
Caribbean.
Yeah.
Because my wife, we're so different. Literally, we couldn't go to the Caribbean.
Yeah.
I thought Mexico was in the works.
It is for me.
Oh, she's not coming.
Oh God, no! Like
She's just gonna
Why?
come visit quarterly on a plane.
I've offered that. I have offered so much to her.
Oh man.
Well, I hate winter, right? And
Mhm.
I think now, like now that I'm coaching, it'll be a little better, but I still hate winter. but I'm like, hey, I'll go to Florida for 3 months. Come down and visit whenever you want. The plane tickets are $100 round trip. Let's just do
Mhm.
this. And but if it was up to me, we'd be traveling the world, right? That is
Mhm.
my dream currently right now is let's just go travel, and the kid can learn
Right.
from home and learn
Mhm.
on the spot and from so many different places. But so she wins in that, right? That's why she has to do all the
Yeah.
housework because she wants the
Yeah.
house.
Right.
And then all right. So is there any other questions that we haven't asked you that you wanted to touch on?
I don't think so. I had no expectations around. I love organic conversation, so this was perfect.
Good. And saying that's what we try to keep them that way. I think we think too many podcasts are too scripted.
We script nothing.
One question,
One
now,
One
question.
and we
question.
forget to answer it, or we forget to ask it almost
Several
every
times,
time.
yeah.
So, all right. Anything else, David?
I got nothing. You hit us.
Let's say, as always, guys, thank you so much. Like, subscribe, share, tell your friends, tell your family. We appreciate you. Rebecca, thank you so much for joining us. To me, it was a fun conversation. I forget why we weren't friends in the beginning, but I think we've become friends now. She doesn't like Dasani.
Yeah,
Yeah, that was
that was it.
And so I'll change you.
Let that one go, Nick.
Rebecca, hang out for a minute. We'll talk to you off air. Thanks for
All
joining
right.
us. We'll be back next
Next
week.
week. That's a
Maybe.
fact.
Okay.
Because
All right. Thanks so much, guys. Yeah.
You've dialed in.
$2 and brews, you might hear something
You can use.
like tips on your cash or tips on the suds.
You're gonna want to
The
use
smarts of these
because
stuff.
they know the brews.
And they know the box, and they know they can't help the stubborn fucks.
So listen up, cause shit's not funny.
Save yourself some
Beer money, bucks,
and brews.
Bucks and
Bucks
brews.
and brews.
Bucks and brews.